Hey there fellas, Kelly with the Mk3 Supra's channel. Today I'm going to be changing out some pretty much non-existent shifter bushings in my W58 transmission. As you can see, this is in third gear right now, and going back and forth there's well over an inch of play. So I did have the shifter out at one time, and the bushings did pretty much just crumble and fall down into the transmission where I had to fish them out. But yeah, I'm going to be replacing all that today. And what I did is went on to w58bushings.com. They sell this kit here that comes with the brass collar that gets pretty much JB welded down into the transmission. You got this plastic cup that the shifter sits down into, and this here bushing that snaps onto the bottom of the shifter itself, and that's what moves the mechanism inside. And what we have to do is take apart this black panel. We got to take this off the car, which is held together by a screw over here, 2 screws behind the ashtray, and then that piece will come right off. So let's start by taking that off. I have already removed the screw down here, so I'll get the ones behind the ashtray here. There's one. I absolutely hate taking the interior apart on my car because I feel like, being it's almost 35 years old, everything's getting brittle, and I'm just scared to crack it because, as you can see, I need to replace this piece from when I was putting my gauges in. That one cracked. And so once you get those 3 screws out, you can just lift up here on the shifter surround, pops up, and then the rest just comes right out, snaps off. Shift it down and forth to make it easier, and there'll be a few connections. Suppose start by taking the shift knob off also would help. Lower the steering wheel, give myself more access. Start unplugging stuff from the back here. There's that one for the headlight misters. There's the hazard. And then the cigarette lighter. This one might be tricky by one hand. Yeah, I'm gonna pause it and undo that one. Okay, I got that connector undone. And then there's also a light bulb on top of the ashtray that you remove. Just twists and pulls out. And you can remove this whole surround piece and set it to the side. And if you look down here, you got some Phillips screws. Actually, looks like I am missing one. So, start by removing those. Probably be better just find the right socket, to be honest. Which I will go and do. Grab an 8mm. Alright. If they're too tight using a screwdriver, you can use a 8mm, which I opted to do to make it easier. Once I get them loose, and I can finish it off with a screwdriver. I am so happy to be able to work outside in a t-shirt again. We had such a long, brutal North Dakota winter here. Really kept me away from my projects. As you can see, I got a Mark II ahead of us, and then there's another Mark III in the garage there. That's getting a new head gasket, and I'm decided to go NAT on that, which means taking a non-turbo engine, putting in a turbo on it. I got a really kick-ass deal from a friend that was selling a Boss Junior turbo kit, which is practically a factory bolt-on upgrade kit for the 7M. I think I want to say it's 58 millimeter or 58 trim, whatever you want to call it. He made well into mid 400s on it, which is more power than I'll ever need to make, so should do just exactly what I need to do. But yeah, once you get those 4 bolts out, you just lift up. That rubber comes off, set that to the side. Now, to remove the shifter from the transmission itself, you gotta lift up this rubber boot, and there is 4 more bolts holding the shifter down in there. And once we get this off, you'll get a good idea of what is getting changed out, which should have been changed out many, many years ago. I have just never had the time, or other stuff was more important to replace. Being it's a 30-year-old car, I want it to drive nice, and this is kind of more of a upgrade in my eyes. I try to do maintenance before I do upgrades. Shift it up to 3rd. Make keys to grab these bottom 2. Yeah, hopefully within the next week, I should be getting the cylinder head back from the machinist for the maroon Mark III in the garage. And I am expecting a bunch of parts to finish off the 1UZ so I can put the V8 in the 2nd gen. Okay, I got all the 4 bolts off. And then you just slowly pull the shifter assembly out of the transmission. I forgot. You want to be in neutral before you take this apart. Okay. As you can see, the little selector bushing on the bottom, still there. But this white bushing is supposed to sit down in here, and as you can see, mine is completely gone. So yeah, I'm making it for a very, very sloppy shift, and I can even see a little black chunk down there that I have to fish out of the transmission. So I will grab that out of there with a needle nose, and then we will get started on pulling this cup out. And then you get down in there, you'll see there's a metal, rubber, metal, like collar down there. We have to take the inside layer of metal out of there, take the rubber piece out of there, and then this brass coupler gets pressed down in there and JB welded into place. So after I fish that piece out of the bottom of the transmission and get these pieces out, I'll be back. Thanks. Alright, so what I had to do was go down below, throw a jack under the center of the transmission support, and remove the 4 support bolts that hold it up to the car. That way I was able to lower the transmission and give myself better access to the 6 retaining bolts that hold this shifter top assembly or whatever to the transmission. I got 2 bolts out here. There's 2 more back down in here in the middle, and then there's 2 far way up there that are going to be really fun to get. So once I get those out and this top retaining plate off, I will be back. Thanks. Oh, alright guys, what a SOB it was to get these front 2 bolts on this retainer. So man, let's see if I can't get it off of here. Looks like I'll have to click it forward. Oh man, you sure don't want to come out. There we go. Okay. Here's the top piece. Here's something. I don't know what that would have been. Piece 2. Set it down there for the time being. And it gives you a better idea of this down here, where this bushing takes place. So what you're going to want to do now is pry the inner layer of steel off of this collar, and then the rubber out of there, and then you JB weld that brass collar down in there. So I'm going to start by prying that out. Alright guys, I got the inner ring. This is the inner steel ring here. I just hit it a couple times with a screwdriver. Got a lip in there, and I pulled it out with a needle nose. And then I sat there and chipped away at the rubber insulator piece there. And there was a bunch of leftover in there. So luckily I had this little sandpaper bit. It goes on the end of a drill. Practically a perfect size. So going in there, and I'll clean all that excess rubber out of there before we JB weld the new bronze piece in there. It's slowly cleaning it up. Alright. Test fit this piece. Alright, sits in there nice. So, what I found out, I didn't even need to take that top retaining piece off, but it does make it easier to get this piece on and get this excess crap out of there, the rubber and that steel. But the brass piece does have little ears cut out of it so that it can slip past the pins in there. And as you can see, I got the new bushing pushed in there, And I also snapped a new bushing on the end of it. I just sat the bushing on the ground and pushed the shifter into it, snapped right in place. So, finish cleaning this out, we'll JB weld it, and I'll put everything back together and then wait 24 hours before I can go out and test drive it. Because you want that JB to set before you start messing around with the shifter. Very little bit left. Alright, I think I'm gonna call that good. There's little tiny bits of rubber left in there, but JB Weld will hold good enough for this little piece. I don't want to sit here and remove too much material off the collar, so I will go and whip up some JB Quick and show you how it goes together. Okay, so I got a nice amount of JB Quick on here. I also got some down in the hole there, and I'm going to slide the piece in. Try to go down straight as I can so I don't push a bunch of excess off. But simple as that, guys. It's in place. I'll wipe this little excess off the top here. And you're definitely going to want to let that cure for 24 hours. So, practically putting it back together in the reverse order and you're done.